Last week, I had a video talking about limited run games starting to make physical games for the Switch, and sure enough, a lot of the discussions in the comments turned into digital versus physical games debates. Now, while I have talked about physical versus digital games in the past, I wanted to talk today specifically in terms of the Nintendo Switch system. Let's start with convenience. I think convenience is probably the biggest factor impacting a lot of people's decision on this subject. Digital buyers have a lot going for them here, obviously. Right off the bat, you don't have to leave your house. I'm down with that. You just click the game in the eShop and boom, it's downloading. Though delivery is getting more common, things like Amazon Prime and that. So physical is closing the gap a bit there. That used to be, even just a few years ago, it seemed like that was one of the big things people touted. Oh, well, I don't have to go to the store to buy the game. But now with so many services guaranteeing day one delivery and sometimes for free, I don't think that argument really holds as much water as it once did. But beyond that, swapping games. If you're playing digitally, it's just the matter of going to the home screen and clicking on a different game. For physical buyers, you gotta fumble around with your cards. If you're playing the system docked, you're gonna have to get your fat ass off the couch to get the other game you want to play, swap them. You're probably not even gonna get the case for the first game, let's be real. I know you. You'll probably just put the first game in the case for the second game and hope everything doesn't get lost, which it probably will. I actually got that Breath of the Wild carrying case from the special edition of the game. I still primarily use that. I don't know if you other physical guys are rocking something like that, but it holds 12 games, so I just always try to have the ones I'm most likely to play in there at all times. But yes, you can lose your games or damage them, which renders them useless. Granted, damaging games across the board isn't as big of a problem as it once used to be. I mean, God, remember those PS1 days? You had to be like Indiana Jones when you were swapping out games. But these are still possibilities that you don't have to worry about when you go digital. In terms of convenience, the bigger things I would think of as downsides to the digital side of things are things like internet speeds and storage space. You have to download the entire game if you're going digital, which, while not typically as big as, say, a PC or, other console games on the Nintendo Switch, they can still be pretty hefty. And that brings us into the storage situation. You need to get yourself a nice fatty micro SD if you're going to go full digital for sure. And even with that, if you're playing a lot of games, you may still find yourself filling up one of those bigger cards pretty quickly and have to be deleting games to install new ones, which gets super annoying. So going forward, you may end up needing another upgrade or more cards or something. I would still say the digital route is easier and more efficient, but if we're going to compare them, let's be straight up, okay? Now let's get into what people like me get pretty mental about. The idea of ownership. With a physical game, you own the product. You can do with it what you wish. You can sell it, trade it, lend it out to your friends, etc. Which the last one, I feel like people kind of understate when it comes to physical, the borrowing. I feel like people tend to leave that one out. My friends and I constantly have single-player games making the rounds as one person is really into it, they buy it, and then those of us who are kind of maybe on the fence about it, after they beat it, it gets passed around between the rest of us. Saves a lot of money. Now, some of these digital services are starting to dip their toes more into the idea of game sharing, but that is not the case with the Switch. Again, I want to stay focused on the Switch experience with this video, and that's not something that's in the cards right now. When you buy digital games, what you're actually buying is a license, which can be revoked. It can end essentially if the service shuts down. This is very Nintendo, as I think it was last year that they announced the closure of the Wii Shop, the service for the Wii. Once this happens, once the system's online stores are fully shut down, your purchases that you don't have downloaded, backed up, or transferred to a Wii U, they're gone. Now, sure, you have these options to keep your stuff, but you're always going to be trying to stay ahead of it. What happens if you back up the games to a hard drive, but that hard drive fails? What is going to happen when the same happens to the Wii U eShop, etc.? Hopefully, Nintendo is going to improve things in this arena with the Switch. I don't want anyone losing access to it. I still have a lot of digital games, even though I try to go physical as much as I can. I own tons of digital games. So fingers crossed things get better with the Switch. We may learn about better future-proofing for your digital games when they detail the new paid online service, but it is still an unknown. When it comes to longevity, I feel much better about physical games. I've still got my NES and Super Nintendo games. I can pop them into the systems, and they work fine. But games today aren't as simple as they used to be. We often need to download updates to get the game working properly. And obviously, if these services go away, you could also lose the ability to update a game. Clearly, this could still have an impact on physical games that way. But if worse comes to worse, you still have something. Most games can still be played without those updates, even day one updates. It may suck, it may not be that bad. Everyone knows these things, they run the gamut in terms of day one updates, like how critical they can be. And bringing it back around to limited run games, that's a nice thing about those games coming long after the initial digital release. When you buy a limited run games title on, say, the PS4, it comes with all of the updates up to that point on the disc. And I'm assuming it'll be the same with the Switch cards. But, you could still get updates beyond that, so losing the ability to update would, regardless, be a big problem. So yeah, there is no clear-cut best way, I believe, to purchase games. You have your problems either way. It's going to come down to preference. I obviously prefer physical games, but I'm also not blind to the route games are going. We're obviously not moving towards a more physical future when it comes to media. I get that. I do believe as long as there are people who prefer physical, we'll keep getting physical games. Retail stores also have a lot to do with that. But in reality, I don't see, say, like, the PlayStation 7 or whatever, if we're still playing on consoles by then. I don't think by that time consoles will even support physical games. And that also brings up how we're playing them, how these companies will sell them to us in the future. Yes, I'm a big physical guy, but you bet your ass I signed up for Game Pass this week to play Sea of Thieves. I've been actually really enjoying it. I couldn't pass up on that deal, $10 a month to play all the upcoming Microsoft exclusives. I do believe if these companies can get the price right, you guys know how I am about game prices. If you can get the prices right by offering great deals like Xbox's Game Pass right now, I think you can get players to play however you want. Maybe that's the route these companies will go, who knows. But anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know how you feel about digital and physical games in the comments. As always, I'm John Zakari, and thanks for watching.